Je voudrais d'abord remercier Thomas KERR surtout pour cette présentation, pour tout le travail qui a été fait par cette équipe qui en fait aidera pas seulement la salle de Vancouver, mais aussi toutes les personnes qui seront impliquées dans l'installation de salles de consommation ailleurs. Parce que ces résultats montrent vraiment qu'on n'a plus besoin de vérifier l'efficacité de ce type de dispositif. Donc, on a un peu de temps pour des questions. Je voudrais, parce qu'on n'a pas pu poser des questions avant, donc si vous avez des questions.
Thank you. As much as I know, the people, the users of drugs, come to the facility with their own substance. And I have two questions. My first question is, how do you do precisely in order to evaluate the quality of the substances that people will bring with them when they come to the facility? And my second question is about do you consider the possibility of providing substance of good quality to users coming to your facility?
Thank you for your question. And I think they are important questions and represent important future steps for work in this area. We currently do not test the drugs for the quality when they enter. We do ask people what drugs they are using so that an appropriate emergency response can be given if necessary. We have asked drug users if they would be willing to have their drugs tested. Some say yes, they would very much like this. Others, however, say, I'm not giving you any of my drug to test. I want all of it. Vancouver also recently completed a very successful heroin prescription trial that simply replicated the results of the many wonderful European trials showing that heroin prescription is good for both public health and for reducing engagement in criminal activity. However, our right-wing government has been unwilling to allow this trial to continue. However, we hope in the future that it will become a program, as it has in Europe in many cities. We have a huge amount of cocaine use and methamphetamine use in Vancouver, and I know there's some interesting discussion at this meeting about new developments in this area. However, I think we would all admit that there's more work to be done, but hopefully soon we will have a substitution for these drugs as well, and one day hopefully we will move away from having this type of facility where people bring their own drugs towards a facility where drugs are provided under medical supervision.
Merci beaucoup. Una pregunta para Dr. KERR. Soy Joan Colom, responsable de drogas de Cataluña. Nosotros hemos utilizado muchísimo la investigación de Insight, precisamente porque en Cataluña tenemos 6 salas, igual que el País Vasco, tenemos 6 salas de menopunción higiénica supervisada y una móvil. Y en alguna de ellas hemos tenido problemas gravísimos, no con el gobierno, sino con los vecinos. Y hemos utilizado muchas veces vuestra investigación de resultados. Yo lo he utilizado personalmente muchas veces, las gráficas, para demostrar el antes y el después de la sala. Dos elementos que pueden servir de alguna ayuda. Nosotros en Cataluña conseguimos un acuerdo en el Parlamento de Cataluña entre todos los partidos políticos con un conjunto de mínimos. Era un acuerdo marco en el que la ideología dejaba un poco de paso a la ciencia. Es decir, no se trata tanto de opinar que esto va bien o esto va mal, sino demostrar que esto va bien o esto va mal. Y eso ha funcionado relativamente bien. Lo digo porque puede ser también una idea para otros países, para otras situaciones similares, porque efectivamente el efecto NIMBY nosotros lo hemos bebido también muchísimo. Muchas gracias y felicidades.
quelqu'un au milieu qui avait... Non, je le vois plus. Il y a encore des questions? Il y avait là, mais j'arrive plus à voir la personne. Ok. Il ne se lève pas la main. Okay. Bon, je ne sais pas. Je ne vois plus. Ok. Oui, c'est bon. Ok.
Hello. I have a practical question about the organization of this Insight project. How do you cope with seeing people inject themselves every day? As a nurse, as a social worker, as a medical, how do you cope with it? Are there supervisions or whatever to insist other people?
Clearly, this can be a stressful place to work, there is no doubt. The organization that runs this facility runs a number of other programs in the area. And only after staff gain experience working in less stressful environments are they able to come and work in this facility. Surprisingly, there has not been a huge change in the staff. Many people have continued to work there now for 8 years. What people find as most difficult, actually, I think, is the overdose events. We don't actually have problems with violence towards staff or people becoming aggressive after using drugs. Really, it's the overdose events that people find to be very upsetting, and for some people it is clearly too much. But this organization is very skilled in providing support to their staff. They have a very elaborate program of support for employee, which includes individual counseling. So, so far it's actually worked very well, I think, to the surprise of many people.
Got the feeling from you, as I always thought, that Canada and Australia sit almost halfway between Europe and the United States in their drug policy. We try to find a middle way. An interesting point you brought about the heroin trial in Australia. One of the states or territory called the Australian Capital Territory in Canberra, its government wanted to start a heroin trial, just a trial, many years ago, and the right-wing government then put a stop to it. It blocked it just on a technicality. People have lost a lot of energy now in trying to start a heroin trial, but we're hoping that there will be one soon and that there will be at least an injecting room in Melbourne and the other big cities. So thank you, well done.
Pour répondre à Jean-Pierre, à 6 mois des élections, on ne peut pas demander à un Premier ministre de droite, sachant que la majorité du public français serait opposée à cela, donc ils vont réfléchir en termes de voix gagnées ou perdues devant toute réflexion. C'est pour ça qu'en Suisse, on a fait un matraquage de l'opinion publique par des articles de presse, par d'excellentes émissions de télévision, ce qui fait que lorsqu'on a fait voter les Suisses sur la prescription médicale d'héroïne, on a eu 68% d'avis favorables. Alors ce que je propose, c'est que tout de suite après l'élection, il y a une équipe qui aille à Vancouver, qui fasse un excellent reportage en montrant un peu ces statistiques, ce qui favoriserait peut-être un autre avis du gouvernement.
Sí, yo querría aportar 2 cosas. Cuando la apertura de la sala de Bilbao había convocadas elecciones municipales y ahí dejamos de hablar de la sala de consumo. No quisimos que la sala de consumo estuviera en el programa de ningún partido. Eso por un lado, ¿no? Porque tenía mucho riesgo el que fuera un debate en ese punto. Y luego decirles que el ejemplo es Suiza, que no creo que es un país muy estable, democrático, y que en definitiva los vecinos de la sala de consumo de Bilbao ahora piden más horas de apertura, porque en definitiva es casi una medida casi burguesa, ¿no? Porque las personas que antes veían por las calles pinchándose en sus portales y todo, desaparecen, mejora la vista del barrio, ¿no? Por eso es difícil de entender que una medida que beneficia la salud de las personas usuarias y que mejora el ambiente de la ciudad haya contradicciones para ponerla en marcha.
Juste un dernier comment de Thomas Kerr avant de conclure.
I fully agree with the comments from our Swiss colleague, and certainly it took years of that type of public education, use of the media, engagement with community groups in Vancouver to get the facility open there. And we did exactly what was suggested. We took politicians, police to Europe, to Switzerland, to Germany to look at the facilities there. And we took members of the media who filmed facilities and talked to people there with experience. And we have public opinion data that shows that while initially the support was about 50%, in our province now, over 70% of people support this initiative. And the last thing I will add is I think that it's also now time for scientists and medical practitioners to be willing to speak out on these issues. We are now in a place where we have enough scientific evidence that we can say with some confidence that these things are working and they should be implemented. We often make fun of the US for their drug policy, but I think it's also important to note that there would not be needle exchanges in the U.S. if it weren't for the courage of people like Don Desjardins and Bob Booth and others who are willing to speak out on these issues. And I think that it's the same thing, and we need to make politicians aware now that public opinion regarding drug policy is now changing. It is, I think the public is getting smarter, and they realize that there are now evidence-based approaches that can be implemented and are effective in addressing this problem from a public health perspective.
Bon, je voudrais conclure cette session qui était vraiment très intéressante. Je vous remercie à tous pour avoir participé et dommage qu'on n'avait pas plus de temps pour des questions parce qu'il y en aura encore, mais bon, on espère que ce travail pourra être aussi utilisé par notre pays.